Hi! So today, we're gonna be doing a review of not the book, but the movie, which is After. Yeah, so if you guys watched my book haul recently, my first book haul that I posted on this channel, I saw the After movie almost a week ago, and I have thoughts and opinions about it. So we're going to be talking about that today. I'm filming in a new location, filming in my living room because at this moment no one in my family is home, so I can be as loud as I want to. So love that for me. So love that for me. I think my dog is coming. Hold on. I think my dog's coming. Is he? No, whatever, it's fine. So yeah, the movie After. Let's talk about it. I'm currently reading the book, and I am on chapter 4, and I'm on page 15. Like, wow, and the book is this big. It's a thick girl. And my thoughts and opinions about it. I don't really have that many opinions yet, if we're being honest. Like, we're really just getting into the story. I heard that the book is very problematic from lots of people. I know a lot of people love it, but I know a lot of other people hate it. But I'm not reading the Wattpad version. I am reading the newly expanded and revised version that was released in, I think, 2014? 2014? There's no date on here. I think it was 2014 though. But yeah, we're not talking about this today. We're gonna do a separate review on the book when I finish it. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but keep an eye out for when I post the video. But we're gonna talk about the movie today. So the movie stars Josephine Langford, who is the sister of Kathleen Langford, who is our Hannah Baker from 13 Reasons Why. So they did good casting there. And then our Hardin Scott is Hero Finesse Tiffin or Finesse Tiffin. I have no idea. He's a model. And Josephine Langford plays our Tessa Young. And then Hero Finesse Tiffin plays Hardin Scott. So yeah, I assume you guys all know what the story is about. The story is about a young girl named Tessa who's like 18 and she's going into her first year of college in Washington. And she gets there on the first day, and she's introduced to this roommate character named... You know what? We're going to use the book for reference. I think it's Steph, right? It's Steph? Steph, I was right. Steph. And her mom is very like, Tessa, you need to do this, and this to be the perfect student, because I have a perfect daughter, because Tessa is not like those other girls. She's not like those other girls at all. So great. And she thinks that her mom thinks that Steph is a bad influence, and she goes, no, mom, let me stay. She won't be in the room that much. And then her mom goes, fine, whatever. And then she leaves. But you know what? Heads up, Tessa also has a boyfriend who's a senior in high school. And his name is Noah. But he shops at the Gap, so it's fine. But, like the second day, like the first full day of college, she gets out of the shower and she goes into her room to get changed. And she's looking in the mirror, and then she just sees this guy. And this guy is named Hardin Scott. Now, Hardin Scott is British. He wears a lot of black clothing. And he's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. So basically, this guy, he's just like basically sitting on Steph's bed. And she goes, can you please get out? I'm getting changed. And he goes, I won't look. And then she goes, Okay, and she basically goes back to the bathroom and gets changed from. She gets out of her shower. She goes to her room. Hardin's there. She has to leave her room because Hardin's in there. She doesn't want to be seen naked by this guy. And she goes back to her room. She gets changed, and then that's really their only interaction until she invites Tessa to a party that night, or is it the next night? I think it's the same night, and these bad girls and bad boys named Molly and Zed and Nate. I have no idea. I'm just guessing at their names. They are playing Truth or Dare because they're adults. And one of them goes, I dare you to make out with Hardin. And then she goes, okay. And then he's like napping on the couch. And he literally goes up to her. He stares at her like blankly for like a minute. And he goes, are you sure you want to do this? And then she goes, yeah. And then they're about to do it in front of everyone. Molly's recording on her phone. And Tessa goes, I'm done playing this game, or something like that. And she goes to his room. She goes upstairs because she's not into it. She goes upstairs. She goes into his room. He has like all these classical books and everything. And he sees her in his room and he goes, what are you doing in my room? And she goes, oh, it's your room. Like, of course it's his room. Of course it's his room. And then he goes, I think you owe me a dare or something like that. And then they talk about Wuthering Heights. And then they end up making out. And it's very, like, off-putting. Because we're only, like, maybe 10 minutes into the movie when this happens. But they're like, yeah, no, we're just gonna get right into it. But, and then then it's the next day. She goes to the coffee house, gets a coffee. You know what she does. She's studying, because, you know, she's not like those other girls. She's studying, and she catches eye contact with Hardin Scott, or Bad Boy. And she basically just looks at him, and he looks at her too. And that's basically it. But you know what? When I realized Hardin Scott is not like other guys, he orders a regular black coffee as a drink at a coffee house. So that's hardcore. So that means that he's a bad boy, obviously. And basically, she meets him like the next day. She goes into class, she meets this guy named Landon. And Landon is Hardin's future stepbrother because their parents are engaged, obviously. And he talks to her about Hardin. I don't really know because he's really not in the movie that much. So he's basically like a throwaway character. And she bumps into Hardin at the coffee house again. And he goes, do you want to go to this place? Do you want to take a drive with me? I'll take you to the secret place that I know. And then she goes, I know, I think it's better if we keep our distance. And then he just backs away because, you know, we need cheesy jokes like that. So great. But in the next shot, in the next scene, she's in the car driving with him, and they just like look at each other really weirdly. And he parks in the middle of the woods, like literally like in the middle of the woods, and they go to this lake with this dock and everything, and basically they go swimming, and she doesn't want him to see all of her, you know, like nakedness. He doesn't want to see her like in a bra or anything. So he goes, you can wear my black t-shirt. And she goes, okay. She puts on his black t-shirt. But then I think she's just gonna like jump into the water, right? You would think that, right? And then she doesn't, because when she jumps into the water, first of all, she doesn't even jump into the water. She basically sits on the deck, and he grabs her by like the waist, and he helps her in to the lake. Like, what? Like, yo, you're like 18. You don't know how to get into a body of water and swim by yourself. You have to have this guy help you, like by grabbing you by the waist and like placing you in the water. Like, what? And then they just swim around for a few minutes. They have like this really intimate staring contest, and they put like this pop music, like this soft piano music, like over the scene, and they're just talking about like, I think they're just talking about like who they love the most in the world, and then he says something really like dumb and cliche, like, "Is it obvious myself?" which I just found super funny, and he goes, "Myself," and then she just laughs, and then they stare at each other for like a good minute again, and then they're just kissing. In the next scene, they're kissing, and it's been like 20 minutes, and they're kissing, and yeah, that's basically it. And then she goes, I thought we could just be friends. And then he goes, "I don't think we could ever be just friends." And then they get out of the water, and I think she's about to take off his black t-shirt or something and give it back to him because her clothes are all dry. And basically he's just like touching her body in a weird way. And then she's just like making these moaning noises. It's really weird. And then he goes, "Have you never been touched before?" And she just like shakes her head very lightly, like, "No." And then he goes, "Oh, that's great." And then I think they kiss even more. And then that scene just cuts off. And in the next scene, I don't really remember what happened in the next scene. I think they're just like hanging out and everything. And they go to this restaurant where they have burgers and fries, which is like my kind of thing. And the girl Molly, who was recording them at the Truth or Dare party, is supposedly dating Hardin. And he goes, "Tessa, go to the car." And she goes, Why? You embarrassed to be seen with me?" And he goes, No. And then she goes, "Are you gonna tell Molly about us?" Because she goes, "I'm gonna tell my boyfriend Noah, my high school boyfriend Noah, about us." And then he goes, "What do you mean us?" And then he literally says the line, "I don't date." Like, oh my god, like, you don't date them, what do you do? And basically that happens, and then she gets like super pissed off at him. I don't even know why. Like, she gets so pissed off at him. Like, girl, you went to a lake and then you guys had like 2 conversations. Like why are you why are you pissed off? But yeah, that happens. She storms out. She basically just like cuts him off for a few days, and then they're back to talking. And I'm sorry I'm yawning. I'm just like super tired. But she cuts him off for a few days, and then like they're in class the next day, and they're arguing over Pride and Prejudice, and they just have this stupid conversation. And then she gets out of class with the land done, and she does this stupid like imitation of a British accent, and I just can't, because it's so funny. But she goes like, "Why Elizabeth Bennet?" and all that, and I'm just like, please kill me. And then yeah. And then I'm just like trying to remember my train of thought here, and I just can't, because it's just like, this isn't even a review. This is just like a scatterbrain of like all my thoughts. And basically that happens. Like, throughout the entire movie, they try to have sex like 4 times, and then they finally do it a 5th time, and they actually have sex this time, and it's so great, and it's so intimate, and it's so great. Basically, Landon and Hardin's parents get married, and Hardin sits with Tessa at a table, and he basically says like why he's so like emotionally closed off to women, maybe even all people. And he goes, "My dad was a drunk, and he messed with the wrong guys one night. So they came over to his house when he wasn't here, and I had to fight them off by myself, and I was 8. And I'm like, first of all, that's so unrealistic, dude. Like they're like grown men, and they're gonna fight an 8-year-old? Like, that's so unrealistic. I just can't with that scene. And then she goes, "Oh no, that's so horrible." But she goes, "At least your dad's trying to be a good dad." And then he goes, "I guess." But let me be clear. His dad is the chancellor of the university that they all go to. So, and They go back and she goes, I want you now. And then they finally have sex. And yeah, I just have like a real problem with that scene. First of all, there's a lot of pop music that goes on in this movie. Like there's really like loud pop music going on in the background like throughout this movie. And maybe that was my issue with it. But like during the scene where they have sex, they're just like doing it. But then all of a sudden, like this loud pop music comes on, and it's just so stupid. But it's so funny that the pop music comes on because during their sex scene, I was just like laughing so hard because of that stupid pop music. But yeah. And then they have a cute little montage where they have fun and everything. And then the night after they have sex, she goes back to her dorm room. Her boyfriend came to visit her for the weekend. I don't even know if I said that. I probably didn't, but her boyfriend came to visit her that weekend. And basically, he goes, where were you last night? Because she has like 20 missed calls from him because he's so nervous about her. And she has 20 missed calls from him. And he goes, where were you last night? And she goes, oh yeah, no, my friend needed help. And he goes, in the middle of the night. And then all of a sudden, the bad boy shows up from like the shadow of a tree. He shows up from like behind the shadow of a tree. And he just like Noah, the boyfriend, he just like looks behind him like this, and like the bad boy is right there, just like looking at her and him together. And she goes, no, I'm so sorry. And then he literally storms off. Like, first of all, his car is like right in the front. He slams the door, he slams on the brakes, and then he just like darts off. He's like, bye Tessa, bye girl. And then I think it was later that day, her mom came to visit. Her mother came to visit. And she talks to Hardin about like this journal that he always writes in. And then she goes, what are you writing there? And he goes, nothing really. And then they just have like this cute little moment where it's just like, I don't even know if it's cute. I'm just saying it's cute because I feel like that's like what couples do. But they just have this moment where like they're kissing, they're making out, and I think they're about to do it again. I don't know, because like we never really get to that scene. Her mom opens the door, first of all, to the dorm. Her mom opens the door to the dorm room, and she goes, Tessa, and then she goes, what the hell is going on? And then she goes, Mom? And then she goes, you and me are gonna have a talk right now. She tells Hardin to get out of the dorm room, and then she goes, no, Hardin, stay. So Tessa goes out with her mom outside of the dorm room to like a stairwell or something. It's like a really creepy stairwell. And the mom goes, what are you doing? You're supposed to be like studying and getting good grades and not hanging out with boys like that. He's a bad boy. You can't hang out with him. And then she goes, I can do whatever I want. And then she goes, are you really gonna throw this all away for some boy? And she goes, yes. And then she goes, you know what? I'm cutting you off. And then she goes, what? And then she goes, yeah, I'm cutting you off financially. You're gonna have to pay for your own school. I'm cutting you off. You can't date bad boy, so I'm cutting you off. Are you gonna continue dating bad boy? And she goes, yeah. And then she goes, I'm cutting you off. We're done. And then that's literally it. And then you would think that since her boyfriend dumped her and her mom cut her off financially, so now she has to pay for her own college, you would think that she would be all sad, right? But then we cut over to a fun montage again with pop music, and they're in the library one night, and they're just like reading each other like quotes from like classic novels, and then they literally run through the library with a security guard chasing them because it was after hours. And basically, this loud pop music surges up because obviously, right? And yeah, that was basically that. And then Molly comes back and she goes, how are things with you and Hardin going, Tessa? And Tessa goes, oh yeah, they're great. And then Molly goes, oh, that's awesome. And then later that night, all that happens. And after that conversation happens between Tessa and Molly, Hardin basically like invites Tessa into this random apartment, and he goes, yeah, this woman, she's gonna be in Italy for like a year for like a full year. He literally says this lady's gonna be in um Italy for a whole year, so we could live here. And she goes, really? And then he goes, yeah, sure. And then they just have fun, and then they have like more montages with more pop music, and that basically happens. And then later that night, she sees like this group text on Hardin's phone, and then she goes, "What is this?" And she goes, "Are you still dating Molly?" And then he goes, "No, Tessa. Why would I be dating Molly?" And then she goes, he has to go. Hardin has to go and meet them at the bar because they're just gonna go hang out and talk about stuff. And Tessa goes, "No, where are you going? I want to come." And then he goes, "No." So basically, he leaves, and she goes to the bar after like waiting around for him like for like hours, and um you see Steph, her old roommate, because she moved out because she's living with Hardin now in that apartment, which is basically trespassing if you ask me. And Molly's there, and that drug dealer guy is there, and Molly just says like something's going on, but it's not what you think. And then she goes, "Remember Truth or Dare?" And when that scene came on, I was like, "Yeah, I do, girl. Like, what's up?" And then that happened, and she goes, "Yeah, why?" And she goes, "Something's going on. It's not what you think." And then she plays this video for Tessa in front of Hardin. Like, Hardin's there, and Hardin, before the video plays, he goes, "Come on, I'll take you home. I'll explain everything." And then Molly gets the video up, and it was basically like this dare for him to fall in love with her. And like he'll turn on his charm to make her fall in love with him, and then when it's done, like he'll just turn it off. You know what I mean? And that was basically the dare, and it's kind of like cliche. Oh my god, that was a noise. And yeah, it's kind of cliche, but I mean, it's not a bad cliche, right? And basically, she storms out. She goes, "How could you do this to me? How could you do this to me?" And he goes, "That was all before I knew you." And then she storms out. First of all, the rain scene where she storms out, it's basically like downpouring, and she didn't bring like a hoodie or a sweater or a coat or anything. So she's literally like in this tank top, and she is basically like drenched. She's like a drenched puppy. And speaking of puppies, hi. Okay, sorry guys, my dog got in my shot and he wanted to play, so I had to play with him for a few minutes. So we're back in the rain scene, okay? And you would think that she would bring a coat or something, and this was all after he told her the truth and everything, and she found out. And she goes, "I thought everything you said to me was real." And he goes, "That was all before I met you. That has nothing to do with anything now." And then she goes, "Are you sure?" And then he goes, "Yeah." And then she goes, "I thought what we had was special." And then she literally storms off, and she gets on a bus. She goes back home to her mom, and literally all she says is, "Hi, Mom, I'm sorry." And then she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry too." And then she goes, "I love you." And then she goes, "I love you too." And then she goes, "What happened? Do you want to talk about it?" And she goes, "No, not really." And then she goes to the high school, and she talks to Noah, the high school senior ex-boyfriend. And he says something like, I don't know his exact words that he says, but he says something like, "You know what, you're gonna get new experiences and all that, and it's gonna be super fun. And whatever new experiences you get, I think you should just like try it out and just like experience like new things." I know I just said new things like 3 times, but whatever. You guys get the point already. But she goes back to the dorm, and the chancellor, Hardin's dad from earlier, he tells her about this internship at this publishing house named Vans Publishing, I think it's called. And she sends them an email, and she gets an email response back, and this is like after they broke up and everything. She gets an email response back. She moves into a different dorm, I think. So she's all by herself. She's lonely. she gets the email from the internship saying she got the internship. So that's basically it. She goes in to the internship, and yeah, that's basically it. And then Harden's all depressed, and he's gotta like work through stuff. And this is like the last 5 minutes of the movie that I'm talking about now. And then she goes into the publishing house, and there's some woman holding open the door for her in the publishing house, like to have her enter. And I'm going to assume that that was the author, Anna Todd. I'm just gonna assume it. It probably was. Tell me in the comments if it was or if it wasn't, or maybe I'm being crazy. But I think it was Anna Todd in that scene. But yeah. And she goes into the publishing house. She gets that internship and everything. He's struggling. In the last 5 minutes of the movie, the teacher, like the English teacher, she's talking about like it's like the end of the school year or something, or it's the end of the semester. She basically says to Tessa, Harden made this final project, but I think it was more about you and more for you than it was for me. So she gives her Harden's final project, which I think is illegal to do. I don't think teachers are allowed to do that, but you know what? It's a movie. We're gonna get past those issues. So she goes to their special place, and he writes this poem about like Wuthering Heights and Pride and Prejudice and Elizabeth Bennet and all that. And he says something like stuff. This has all changed since I met you or something. And then he goes to he goes to the spot too. He goes to the lake, and she's there as well. And he goes, "You asked me who I loved most in this world," and he goes, "It's you." But this is like an inner monologue that's being voiced over, like them just sitting at the dock, and like this this kind of sad piano music, kind of plays in the background, and then they just like slowly turn to each other and they look at each other like this, and that's literally it. And then it just cuts to black and it says after, like, can't wait for the sequel. Like, I know I had a lot of problems I didn't have a lot of problems with the movie, but I had some little issues. But overall, so far, I think that the movie is better than the book. I would say the movie isn't as bad as everyone was saying, because I saw like the critical reviews and everything, and they all gave like a 10%. I would give it like a 3 out of 5 stars. It's not that bad of a movie. It's really not that bad. It's actually very well acted. It's kind of cliche, but I like those cliche stories. But overall, the book, I can't really say that much because I'm only 15 pages in and I'm 4 chapters in, but the writing style is not that good, but you guys will hear more about that in my review of the book. So, yeah. So yeah, that is basically it for my review of After. You guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.